Thanks to first-hand accounts, this program tells the story of women who were part of Italy's Camorra Mafia. Some chose to collaborate and are now protected in secret locations. Other women opted not to collaborate with the state and are currently serving their full sentences in jail.
I would never have imagined any of this. Either being a member of the Camorra or a law enforcement informer. My whole life changed on March the 19th, when Carlo was killed. I still remember his face very well. I remember all of his bruises. After my brother's death, my dreams were shattered. My name is Rosa Amato. I wanted to become a lawyer, and I became a mafia queen instead.
Rosa Amato, also known as Rosella, was born in Santa Maria Capua Vetere in the province of Caserta. She grew up in a sheltered environment, far from the Camorra.
I had a happy childhood in a normal family. On Sundays, you went to church. Mum was a housewife, and Dad was a fishmonger and a karate instructor. It was a normal, peaceful life. The family was a welcoming place you liked to return to. My brother was 11 months younger than me, and we were like sisters, or like brothers, in the sense that I used to play with him with his toy cars, and he played with me and my dolls in return. We were both siblings and friends.
The bond between brother and sister is very strong, and Rosa is very protective of Carlo.
He and I complemented one another. We'd listen to each other, and we were very close.
Unfortunately, brother and sister are destined to be separated.
Dad was very attracted to women.
Salvatore Amato believed he was a very handsome man. He constantly bragged about his many women.
Salvatore Amato was still officially married. He had a wife called Alfonsina Bardella and a long list of women whom he officially looked after, both Italian and foreign girls. He also had a lover called Emilia Maio.
Who do you think you are?
Stop yelling. You gotta stop that.
I'll take the kids and leave.
Shut up.
The extramarital affairs of Rosa's father led to her parents' divorce. Rosa moved out with her mother, while Carlo stayed home with his father and his lover, Emilia Maio.
We didn't sleep in the same room anymore, so we couldn't talk at night the way we always used to. We no longer shared our little secrets. That was painful, and both of us suffered. Maybe he didn't show it that much, but I could tell by the look in his eyes when we met that he would have loved to change things back to the way they used to be. I've always been jealous of my father, jealous in the sense that I felt I had to compete with her. I've always wanted to be close to his heart, but I never seemed to succeed. I was very jealous of Emilia because I felt she had unrightfully taken Mum's place. She was close to my father, and she shouldn't have taken my mother's place.
Beyond her father's sphere of influence, Rosa devoted herself to what she liked.
I liked studying, so I went to college and studied humanities. Later, I enrolled in a university to study law. I dreamt of becoming a lawyer, and a tough one too. That was my dream.
But Rosa's dreams shattered the night her brother Carlo, in his 20s at the time, decided to go to a party.
It was a college party.
A party that takes place towards the end of the college year.
The buzz around this party started in the afternoon already. He asked me what he should wear. I chose a blue sweatshirt. That looked good on him.
Carlo had a crush on a girl from Santa Maria, Linda, but she didn't seem to be too interested.
When Carlo arrived, there were some young men who weren't from Santa Maria, but from an area called Lagro Avesano.
When Linda was approached by another young man, Carlo went mad. But he attacked the wrong person.
Carlo beat one of them up. And within seconds, some guys from upstairs arrived.
The saddest part about Carlo Amato's murder is that his injuries wouldn't have been fatal if he had been given medical assistance right away.
Around midnight, my father's girlfriend called. She said, "Run to the hospital. Carlo had an accident." When I got there, I saw the carabinieri arresting 3 or 4 guys. The doctor didn't say anything. Carlo's friend, Mario, was terrified, looking pale as death. He kept saying, "They're going to kill us too." At that point, I remember punching the wall of the hospital. Dad came out a minute later, after having talked to the doctor, and I still remember it as if it were now. He only said to me, "Carlo is dead." Without any expression, as if he already knew what would happen and what he wanted. "Pack your bag and come with me, because I'm going to kill whoever murdered Carlo." I knew from that moment on everything would change.
There were rumors. Sandokan,
the godfather of the Casalisi clan. The boss named Sandokan.
Probably Sandokan's son had also been at the party and had taken part in the fight. But the truth never came out. Even the witnesses who were in the immediate vicinity of the crime never spoke out.
No one came clean. No one talked about what they had seen. Yet the disco had been packed beyond its capacity.
To confess a murder involving the son of one of the most fearsome Camorra bosses in the province of Caserta in 1999 would have meant only one thing: certain death. The police, and even Salvatore, Rosa's father, tried to question the young men of Santa Maria Capua Vetere, but Carlo's friends remained silent.
Francesco Scavione, known as Sandokan, was the head of the Casalesi clan, the boss of the bosses. Whenever he was interrogated by the police, he always described himself as a simple worker, a farmer, a buffalo breeder. He never admitted to being the head of a clan, perhaps the most powerful clan of the entire Campania region.
The Casalesi had built up an empire based on drugs, gun running, concrete, prostitution, extortions, gambling, and illicit waste trafficking.
Being a member of the Schiavone family in Caserta meant being the ruler of the province of Caserta, as if the place was run according to their rules.
This whole area can be considered a fief of the Casalesi clan.
They were so powerful, they actually built the highly protected courtroom in which the Spartacus trial against their very own clan was held.
Rosa's father decides to go to war. He's going to fight against one of the most powerful clans of Italy, and he won't stop until he's taken revenge.
He didn't want me by his side. He wanted Carlo, because Carlo was the boy he had raised. The only thing he was interested in was killing them. Whether it was Sandokan's son, his cousin, his uncle, he didn't care.
On the 5th of June 1999, Michele Della Gatta was killed. Many eyewitnesses had hinted at him being present at Carlo Amato's murder, and a warrant for custody was already awaiting him. But the Camorra's judgment was quicker than that of justice.
At first, Della Gatta's murder was supposed to mean, "We killed him for you."
The man who had ordered the murder was Vincenzo Schiavone, also known as O Copertone, Sandokan's cousin. Apparently, his direct involvement seemed like a message for the Amato family. Justice is done, now stop seeking revenge. But appearances deceive.
Michele Della Gatta was killed in order to silence him.
He was a drug addict and certainly unreliable. The Casalesi knew that before long, Michele Della Gatta would have been arrested.
Facing charges of murder, he probably would have talked, or could have become an informer.
He would surely have talked to the police and would have revealed the involvement of the Schiavone family in the murder.
Michele Della Gatta's murder was supposed to settle the scores between the two families, but it didn't turn out that way.
A war against the Casalesi started.
Tell me who did it.
I don't know, I swear.
Tell me.
I really don't know.
I said tell me.
After Carlo's death, my father asked me and my mother to live with him. Someone had shot with a Kalashnikov at his entrance door, so he said, "Come with me. It's pointless to postpone this any further." His girlfriend was going to be there too, so I always tried to avoid the subject. But it had become inevitable.
After so many years, Rosa returned to her father's house. It was an awkward situation because her father, her mother, her father's lover and herself were going to live under the same roof. But the Amato family was at war against the Casalesi clan, and a harmonious life at home wasn't exactly a top priority at the time.
Salvatore Amato was convinced he could avenge his son, but he realized that he couldn't plan this revenge on his own.
In order to fight against the Casalesi clan, the Amato family needed allies. They found them by transporting drugs, loan sharking and sheltering fugitives for a rival clan of the Casalesi, the Belforte clan, which dominated the territory of Macianise. But having allies was not enough. They needed soldiers.
Anyone willing to fight the Casalesi clan must have been mad, or drug addicts, or foreigners, Ukrainians, Romanians.
Salvatore put together a band of criminals. The Amato clan was born. The Amato clan started out dealing with drugs, but the turning point came when they managed to infiltrate a very lucrative and new field of business for the Camorra at the end of the millennium.
At a certain point, his desire to take revenge on the Schiavone family ceased. It ceased at the same time as he started a business based on video poker machines.
The clans realized that the video game industry, video poker or slot machines and online betting was less dangerous than drug dealing.
In the beginning, the Casalesi clan let my father install the slot machines because he had caused such a stir, and they just let him get on with it.
The local businesses were only allowed to install the Amato clan's video poker machines. Salvatore thereby established a distribution and installation company for video poker machines.
By creating his own company, which competed with the Casalesi clan, Salvatore Amato caused economic damage to the clan. He showed for all the world to see that he had managed to replace the Casalesi's machines with his own.
On 2 or 3 occasions, a clan member took a shot at the shutters or planted a bomb near a bar.
For every machine that was installed, Salvatore hired a young man. His aim was to form a small army in order to protect the family and the family business by controlling the territory.
Whenever a bar owner didn't want the machine, because he probably already had one belonging to the Casalesi clan, they would threaten him until he installed the slot machine.
People had almost become used to being forced to install these machines, either by Amato's men or by the Casalesi clan, so no one actually reported anything to the police.
But an important part of the business had a legal side to it, because it dealt with the state, with the banks, and with tax offices. It took some expertise to handle this part of the business, which Salvatore and his men did not have.
And that's when Rosa Amato enters the game.
Basically, I managed the whole company. I had a power of attorney for everything. I paid the dues, I bought the slot machines, I handed out the salaries. I was the one who kept the accounts. I took care of everything. Without my part in this, the legal side of the business would have fallen apart, and so would the clan have. How else could we have afforded to keep more than 20 young men on the payroll?
With the launch of this LTD company, Rosa's career in the Camorra began.
Rosa is a competent woman. She started this business with one great goal: to show her father that she is a very capable person, to disprove his belief that she would never be able to assist him in the business.
But the Amato family business was no ordinary business. It was a criminal business. They didn't just pocket the small percentage that was legally due to the distributor of the machines, but actually the whole amount. Including the small sum the bar owners were supposed to get. And the proceeds could further increase if, in addition to harassing the bar owners, you would also manage to defraud the state monopoly.
I used to connect the card to my computer, and through a software, I would lower the total amount from which the state took its percentage. Instead of a 10,000 euros revenue, I would leave only 1,000.
Rosa told us that the collection was around 400,000 or 500,000 euros every 2 weeks. From then on, Rosa began to play a decisive role in Salvatore Amato's illicit business.
There was a further source of revenue for the Amato clan, which was also linked to the business of the machines. Because gambling is addictive, many locals ruined themselves by piling up debts.
Gamblers who had squandered all their belongings were forced to borrow money and turn to the Amato clan.
Everything comes full circle and ends in the pockets of the Amato clan, who became richer and more powerful each day. Among the men of the Amato clan, a young man started to make his way. Fatos Hasbairami, whom everyone called Andrea.
Andrea told my father about his Albanian childhood, the typical story of someone who fled his country on an inflatable boat. He told him he had been rejected by his family, and my father, who had recently lost a son, felt strongly for him. Andrea saw pictures of Carlo and he immediately tried to copy him. He even had the same haircut as Carlo. It didn't take very long to win my father's affection.
It was common opinion within the clan that he was taking advantage of Salvatore Amato's psychological condition.
Andrea slowly started climbing the hierarchy within the Amato group. Rosa had suffered terribly from her father's lack of attention anyway. She saw Andrea coming into the picture and pushing her into second place again, just like it had been with her brother. Back then, she had accepted it because he was her own brother, but she didn't accept Andrea. So she started to get more and more involved in the business to show her father that she was better than Andrea.
I wanted to win my father's attention. I wanted to impress him. I wanted him to look at me the way he looked at Andrea. Because when he looked at him, his eyes were loving eyes. Not because he really valued him, but because he made him feel like the dad of a boy. I always tried to make him feel that way for me. Maybe that was foolish, because Andrea was only making up for Carlo, and I could never make up for Carlo because Carlo had been a male. My father didn't exactly believe in equality for women.
Men are the ones who command. Men are the ones who are designated to command actions, whereas women, I'm not saying they have an exclusively procreative function, but almost.
I believe Rosa was suffering from a real Electra complex. She was so in love with her father. She would have done anything for him. She always felt she came second. She was a daughter who was forced to run after her father, while instead her father was running after a dead son. He later found him in a kind of stepson, who did nothing but take advantage of the situation, and who also put Rosa in a bad light in her father's eyes.
I drove a BMW. My father and Andrea both drove a Mercedes. We had lots of money, and maybe we were rolling in it too much. Maybe we had become too used to that kind of life, and we also started to like it. There was no way of going back. My father had made a name for himself. Every now and then, I would buy something at the jeweler's, maybe a diamond, or some designer clothes. When you go into a store and you have a lot of money, you don't leave until you've spent 1,000 euros. I lived the high life of a signora.
The Amato clan started drawing people's attention, which is a dangerous thing in the province of Caserta. On the 31st of October 2003, the Casalesi clan made its voice heard again. They murdered Sebastiano Caterino in Santa Maria Capo Avetere because he had started dealing without their permission.
The only thing that's certain is that Sebastiano Caterino was killed right after he had left Amato's house.
I saw him, and his face looked horrible. In my opinion, the murder of Sebastiano Caterino was a warning to the entire population of Caserta, to tell the people of Santa Maria that whoever wants to start a business of his own must have the permission of the Casalesi clan.
Niente se non sei autorizzato dai Casalesi.
The murder of Sebastiano Catarino was also a warning to the Amato clan to take things easy.
Enjoy what you have, but don't overstep the mark, because next time it might just be you.
Rosa had enrolled at the university dreaming of becoming a lawyer, and over the course of a few years she found herself in charge of a Camorra-style business. But her life was bound to change again, very radically.
One day, a young man covered in blood came by the house. His face was full of blood. On seeing all that blood, I was touched, because it reminded me of my brother. So I helped him and washed his face.
That young man's name was Francesco, and he was a member of the clan.
After that meeting, we started seeing each other secretly, without letting my father know, because Francesco was working for him. My father didn't like him very much, because Francesco was taking drugs. But he told me that he had just started, and that he really wanted to stop anyway.
Instead of pulling herself out of this whole nasty story, Rosa got herself involved with him all the way. She married Francesco, and in 2006 she gave birth to a little daughter, Valerie.
Then one day, I found a message on his phone while he was taking a rest. It said, "Meet me at the usual place, my love." I wanted an explanation, and he had none to give. He just left. He went to meet his girlfriend and ran away with her.
Rosa's husband abandoned his wife and daughter and ran away to Bologna with his lover. Shortly afterwards, Rosa started the procedures of cancelling his parental rights.
Rosa is a fragile girl. She hides a great fragility behind her confident, uncompromising appearance. A very simple woman. All she ever wanted was a family of her own and some children, an ordinary life, nothing special.
Meanwhile, the slot machine and gambling market continued to develop, forcing Rosa to seek new solutions for defrauding the state.
They developed a system. Salvatore was a smart man, after all. He knew that he could no longer officially reduce the profits, so he built so-called clones. They built machines that worked perfectly fine, identical to the ones connected to the network, except for one thing. They weren't connected to the network.
We were able to do this with the help of people who gave us an identical card with the same ID code, with the same numbers. I had also forged the authorization, because that's the first thing they check, if the slot machines are authorized.
She managed to forge perfectly identical authorizations. We seized the fakes. The authorizations were identical.
Her father had a very strong influence on Rosella's life.
I was continuously struggling for his attention. Even if my father says there never was the need to win him over because Andrea could never have taken my place. But this is what he says now. Back in those days, I looked at things differently.
You were supposed to go there yesterday. I'm the only one who's taking care of things.
I often had to complain to Andrea that the guys did little to nothing. They weren't paying attention if new bars were opening.
A few bar managers began to report things. This was a first start into the investigations. But of course, these people just reported things that were of minor relevance. The main source for the investigations were the wiretap phone calls and the oral interceptions.
The most helpful came from the hearing device installed in the car of a person under investigation, who then became an informer, Antonio Barricano.
Antonio, do you think that's nothing? He makes 45,000 euros a month.
But just as he gets them, he wastes them.
He does.
Another 1,000 euros, and he gets another woman.
Every 1,000 euros, he hires another guy.
They criticized Salvatore Amato's work and how he treated them. While they talked about these issues, they unveiled several secrets.
We have to put up another 15 machines.
I was about to say, why don't you go do it? How do we freaking do it?
I've had enough of this shit.
Andrea never really had any affection for Salvatore Amato. He was only interested in the money. We found out later that Andrea often collected the proceeds of both the machines and loan sharking and sent them to his parents in Albania without Salvatore Amato's knowledge.
Secretly, he criticized my father, but he called him Dad to his face. Then he had a baby girl, and he called her after me, just for show. It was at dawn, just before 7 a.m.
Once we have identified the subject, we can't lose sight of him. The use of cell phones is not allowed, because at the same time, we have to arrest other people.
Carabinieri. 15 or 16 carabinieri entered my house.
Carabinieri.
10 years into their criminal activity, the police succeeded and arrested Salvatore Amato and his clan. 2 of his men started collaborating with the investigators, and they also mentioned Rosa's name.
I remember that at first she was a little angry.
They pushed us into the car while my little girl was staring at us. She was crying. Her eyes were wide open with fear. She couldn't understand. She was only 3 years old.
Mom will be back.
The day we got arrested was a bit like the day Carlo died. Once again, I was totally shocked, because I honestly hadn't expected it. Until then, I never felt like a mafia queen.
She didn't grasp the criminal aspect of what she'd done. When Rosa was arrested, I remember we were all astonished by her appearance. We were all shocked that her appearance and the role she played were inconsistent with one another. She was a modern girl and at the same time the leader of a clan. We couldn't figure out how such a modern girl could pull the strings of such a powerful criminal group.
But Rosa is released after a few days due to insufficient evidence. Her father stays in jail. That's when the situation changes completely.
Her release was a piece of good fortune for us investigators and bad luck for her.
She replaced her father as head of the clan.
But managing the clan has become a lot harder than it used to be.
The Amato clan has suffered major losses. Many machines have been seized. At a certain point, Rosa couldn't handle it anymore. She couldn't pay the salaries, couldn't even pay her lawyers anymore. Because they're not being paid anymore, some members become informers.
Her father asked her to do certain things, such as convincing some informers to withdraw.
She had become her father's operational arm. And to make sure everyone understood that she was in charge now, she took action against the families of those collaborating with the state.
Tell him to shut up or something will happen.
Rosa exposed herself more and more, which finally led to her downfall. In May 2010, she was arrested again, and this time she won't be released for a long time. Too many former affiliates, now law enforcement informers, have confirmed her prominent role in the Amato clan. Now, Rosa faces maximum security prison.
I remember she suffered a lot from the imprisonment in Lecce.
I didn't have a choice. I had to get out. Staying in prison was not an option because I had to go back to my daughter.
At the time when Rosella was still in prison, and I hadn't yet been able to change the sentence to house arrest, her mother had a health problem. She would probably be hospitalized, which meant Rosella's daughter, who was staying with her grandmother, might have ended up in a foster home.
12 years without my daughter. I couldn't even imagine that. My lawyer said to me, Rosa, unfortunately, with 4 informers against you, I didn't manage to get house arrest for you to see your little girl. Maybe, if you started to act responsibly.
She understood that her collaboration clearly involved accusing her father. She said, "Counselor, I'm sorry for my father, but I have a daughter and I have to take care of her. My father will take care of himself." I have never heard her accuse or judge her father, as if her relationship with him was still more about affection than respect. It's a bond she never really managed to break.
Because she decided to collaborate and she has a child under the age of 10, Rosa is put under house arrest. Her life seemed to have finally come to a turning point. But once again, her father manipulates her destiny, presenting her his cellmate, Antonio Fanelli, of all people.
Salvatore is a total control freak, and above all, he wants to control his daughter. His male chauvinist mentality doesn't allow for his daughter to take her own decisions. She must always depend on her father's decisions, even when it comes to choosing a partner. He introduces Fanelli to her in order to bring them together. But Fanelli is a weak person, an ex-drug addict, an alcoholic. Salvatore brings the two together because he is in a cell with Fanelli, and through him he wants to control his daughter.
They got to know each other by writing letters over a period of a few months.
He knew how to write. It was a very platonic thing. So he won me over this way. He was all poetry, all roses. But in the end, it all went wrong.
When he got his first release on a temporary license, Rosa started seeing Antonio out of jail and had a child with him.
The baby's name was Carlo, in honor of my brother. I had always wanted a little boy, even before Valerie. I loved this baby so much because I was in love with Antonio. When I was pregnant, I found out that my mother had cancer that would take her away in a year. He wanted me to go to prison every week with my big belly, with nausea, while my mother was undergoing chemotherapy, with Valerie going to school. At that time, I needed someone, and he wasn't there for me. I left him. He no longer called. I gave birth alone. Mum had radiotherapy to the brain. She had a fever. The only person by my side was my mother. She died at Christmas. At Christmas, she told Valerie, "I'm sorry it was a crappy Christmas for you." She didn't want to die. She wanted to be close to her little grandchild, and she ended up dying on Christmas Day.
Rosa was all by herself with 2 children.
Had she lived in a different environment, she would have been a normal girl. Quiet, ordinary.
I blame everything on the Camorra. As long as the Camorra exists, everything will keep going wrong. My children are the reason I wake up every morning. My only project is to give them a future, and I will.
Rosa Amato was sentenced to 4 years and 8 months for her associations with the mafia, and in a second trial to another 2 years for forgery and loan sharking. Following her spontaneous declarations, she benefited from extenuating circumstances. She currently lives in an undisclosed location with her children.